$1. From the Town Fair Tire Studios, the home of the Patriots, the Celts, the Revs, and the Bruins. Boston's home for sports is 98.5, the Sports Hub. Beasley Media Station. Sports Hub headlines.
All right, a little damp, but there is going to be baseball in Cleveland tonight as the Red Sox begin this three-game series with the Guardians. You have Tanner Houck on the mound for the Red Sox this evening. Rafael Devers, it looked like he was going to be back, but he is not in the lineup tonight. First pitch coming up in just about 10 minutes. Also, earlier today, manager Alex Cora said Tristan Casas is dealing with a rib fracture, so he is going to be out for a while. Austin Matthews with the eventual game-winning goal. Maple Leafs defeat the Bruins 3-2 last night. Tie up this first-round series at a game apiece. Next two will be in Toronto, Game 3 tomorrow night. Celtics resume their first-round series against the Heat tomorrow night at TD Garden. Celtics lead that series 1-0. And with the NFL Draft coming up Thursday night, the Raiders reportedly attempted to trade into the number 2 overall spot with Washington, but the Commanders have shown no indication that they will move out of that spot. Headlines are brought to you by Roto-Rooter. Plumbing problems? Call Roto-Rooter. That's the name, and away go troubles down the drain. 1-800-GET-ROTO. 1-800-GET-ROTO. I'm Jim Murray, Boston's home for sports. 98.5 The Sports Hub. Kevin Majori's got you next at 6:30.
Listen to it. Laugh at it. Get mad at it. Agree with it. Argue about it. It is Boston Sports. Boston Sports. And it is all we do. 98.5 The Sports Hub. Now,
You have dog crap in your system.
this is the Baseball Hour with Tony Maz.
They did nothing this offseason.
Brought to you by Bigelow Tea, Corona, Gravely Zero Turn Lawnmowers, Jackson Lumber, Team Impact, Blue Moon Belgian White, and FindMassMoney.gov.
On 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Rafaela coming in, and the Red Sox have swept the Pirates. Final score today, 6-1. The Red Sox take all three and improve to 10-3 on the road this year on their way to Cleveland.
Yeah, unbelievable. Great series, with a lot of stuff going on, a lot of injuries. This team battled, and especially today with this lineup, great job battling through it and getting the big W for the sweep.
Well, all things considered, I actually think it was a productive weekend for the Red Sox in Pittsburgh, which sounds like an oxymoron, but I'm going to stick with it. I'll tell you why here in 1 second, but 617-779-0985 is your number on the Baseball Hour, and tonight it is a full hour, and I just want to tell our listeners that because we run into this every year at this time of year, and if you listen to the program, you know that. So, but I'm going to tell you anyway, that it's a very unpredictable time of year because Bruins are in the playoffs, Celtics are in the playoffs. We are your home for both teams here at 98.5 The Sports Hub, as well as the New England Patriots, which means we're obligated to carry the games. And I don't mean to say it like it's some sort of obligation. It's a good thing to be able to carry those games for you here at 98.5. And because of the way the week sets up, we are not going to have a show some nights. For example, last night, there was no Baseball Hour. Tonight, we get the full hour. Tomorrow, Jimmy Stewart, we have a half hour, correct?
That is correct, Tony.
And at the same time, because life piles up on you, as you know, Jared Carrabis, Jared had a scheduling conflict, usually comes in on Wednesday nights. He came in on Tuesday, which is better because we get him for an hour instead of a half hour tomorrow. So that worked better, too. And Jared Carrabis, presented by Blue Moon Belgian White. Be sure to relax and enjoy the ball game with Blue Moon Belgian White. That's Blue Moon, born in a ballpark, brewed for baseball. Now, I will tell our listeners that we're happy to talk about anything and everything relating to the Red Sox or Major League Baseball. You want to bitch about the umpiring and Aaron Boone's ejection yesterday? Or was that 2 days ago?
That was yesterday.
Yesterday. I'm getting my days mixed up again because of the playoff schedules. We can do that, but I do want to start Red Sox. I do want to start the weekend. I know Jared has a specific thought about a certain player on the roster, but before we even get there, the 3 wins over Pittsburgh, should you take anything positive out of that or no? Jared.
Tony,
Jared.
I want to say no, but I don't want to. I feel like you're rubbing off on me. Like, how am I supposed to come in here and look you in the eye and say, Tony, They just swept a Major League Baseball team. There's nothing, not a single thing you can take from it. Are the Pirates a good offensive baseball team? No. I tweeted, I think it was on Sunday, I said it feels like the Red Sox are playing the Red Sox right now because of the mental mistakes that they were making, the errors, the getting picked off, the getting thrown out at when they were trying to take an extra base. They didn't play good baseball. One of their premier players, O'Neal Cruz, he looks awful. It wasn't just in the series. Like, he's got off to an awful start this year after he got hurt at Fenway. He missed a whole year last year. I don't know that you can say you can take nothing out of it, but am I pumped up? Like, hey, Tony, they came in, they swept the Pittsburgh Pirates, the 2014 playoff Pirates. Like, no, I'm not, like, pumped about it, but I don't think it's like, you don't just overlook it.
Oh, I don't overlook it.
Oh, okay.
Oh, no,
right.
I don't overlook it.
Okay,
I don't
that's
overlook it
the
at all.
direction you were going in.
No, it's not the direction I'm going in. I'm going in the opposite direction.
Wow.
I actually give them a little bit of credit for the weekend.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why. Okay, here's why I think you cannot totally dismiss it. Okay? Who is the Red Sox number 2 hitter to start the season?
Was it Devers?
Devers.
Yeah.
Who batted third?
On Sunday, Rob Refsnyder.
No. Who batted third to start the year? He's hurt.
O'Neal.
No.
Who hit third?
Trevor Story.
Okay, yeah. Yeah. He shouldn't have.
Okay,
yeah.
Who batted fourth? Casas. Who batted fifth? O'Neal.
And then Masataka Yoshida.
Okay.
Who's basically not even on the team anymore.
Okay, so basically, and add Yoshida if you want, because I know that's who you want to talk about.
Yeah.
But my point is, you went into Pittsburgh, you were the Pittsburgh Pirates. You were very similar to the Pittsburgh Pirates. You were without your 2, 3, 4, and 5 hitters, the first 2 of whom, by the way, are your highest paid players on the roster. Rafael Devers and Trevor Story, your 2 highest paid guys. Now, some of this is the Red Sox fault, some of it is not. They had some injuries, some things piled up. Casas, as we know now, has a broken rib and is going to be out for some extended period of time. O'Neal and Devers, I think, were both due back into the lineup tonight or expected back into the lineup tonight, but they're looking at a rainout regardless.
No, they're going to play.
Oh, they are going to play.
Can we throw that up there? The game's about to start in like 2 minutes, Tony. Let's clap here.
So I had not heard, the way Murray was talking earlier, there was a chance of a rainout.
They plan on playing.
Okay, good. Well, that's good news.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that aside, the point being, you went into a place to play a team without, what amounts to the heart of your batting order. So, I don't care who you're playing. You're going to win those, to win the games counts for something. So 10-3 on the road, 13-10. I'll take it. And we're going to have to measure the Red Sox in small increments this year. Before we get to Yoshida, let me ask you a question that is related to this. Okay? So look, Jared, on some level, I'm trying to operate with a measure of reality.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously, we all think that ownership doesn't want to spend, that the Red Sox are rebuilding from the inside out, that this is, we don't know when they're going to be good and competitive and world championship caliber again. We don't know any of that. At the same time, there is a season to play, and there should be certain goals and objectives. So right now, adding in the weekend, going into tonight, the Red Sox rank number 1 in the major leagues in ERA for starting pitchers. Okay, 1.73. Their starters combined are 9-3 with a 1.73 ERA. They rank 2nd in the majors in WHIP, behind only the Philadelphia Phillies. They rank among the major league leaders, or have, in strikeouts, 8th best in the major leagues for their starting pitchers. They don't walk many guys. They don't give up many home runs. They've held opponents to basically a 200 batting average. If the Red Sox come out of this season and Tanner Houck, Cutter Crawford, and Brian Bayo are legitimate number 3 starters at worst, maybe better, is it a win? Is the season a success?
No, it's a low bar. I mean, you're the Boston Red Sox.
It is a low bar.
Yeah. No, I hate that. It's great talking about the future because I think, I tweeted the other night when they, I believe they won on Saturday and they improved to whatever it was, 254 and 254 since the start of the 2020 season. So we've been watching dead middle 500 baseball for half a decade.
5 years.
5 years of 500 baseball. And like, I understand that the entire offseason we were complaining about the starting pitching. Go sign Yamamoto. Go sign Jordan Montgomery. They did neither of those things. And the lone bright spot, or one of the lone bright spots of this season, has been the starting pitching. That's great. You mentioned the numbers. A sub-2 ERA for the starting pitchers. Not sustainable, but it's a great start. Like, if you can get somewhere in the threes, kind of like what Bayo is right now, a low threes for the entire staff, I would love that. It's a box to check, but I would still come out of that thinking, all right, you have a nice little core here in the rotation. I still want to supplement that with talent from the outside. I don't want to look at it as, all right, these guys have emerged. You're set. I don't look at it that way. I look at it, we need to supplement those, let's call them threes. That's fine. But it's kind of just, to me, the whole thing is disheartening because, and we talked about this before the season started, that I didn't want to get to a place where kind of like what's happening here is this team at 13-10, they need to play better at home. Completely understandable. But this is a team that is good enough, if supplemented, could be a playoff team. This is the most frustrating territory to be in, where you're 3-4 games over 500. It's not going to get it done in this division. There's a lot of competitive teams in the American League, so maybe it's not a playoff team. But if the ownership had just tried or put forth a little bit more effort, then what could this team have been? And you see all the injuries now. Tristan Casas, it's not the perfect example, but you remember the Jacoby Ellsbury rib injury in 2010?
Sure. Yeah.
We didn't see him again.
Right.
We didn't see him again.
Correct.
I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen with Casas, but that's the benchmark that I have to go on. It's just very frustrating when you see what this year, 2024, forget talking about the future and what might be coming down the line. 2024 could have been more special, or just special in general. Like, I'm not going to call this team special, but it's just frustrating when you look at ownership in the eye. If you were to ask them, did you put forth your best effort to complete the 2024 Boston Red Sox so that you could contend for a playoff spot this year? The answer is no, you didn't, but they could have, and we could have had a better team this year.
Okay, and look, again, like I don't dispute any of that. I mean, I think we all feel that way. My point is, I'm talking about today now. Okay, April 23rd. You are where you are. Story's done. Devers is Devers even in the lineup tonight, Jimmy Stewart? Can you answer that for me? I haven't even looked at the starting lineup yet. I presume that Devers is playing tonight. O'Neill is back in there. In fact, he's in the batter's box right now. So that's a good sign. But you went a series of days there without either of them. And now Casas is out, so you've lost.
No Devers in the lineup.
Okay, no Devers.
Which is concerning because he wanted back in the lineup on Sunday, and Cora said, no, let's give him, we'll give him Sunday because we have the off day on Monday. We'll bring you back on Tuesday. Well, now it's Tuesday and he's not out there.
Correct.
That's
so look,
bad.
I think the Devers thing is absolutely a concern. I think he did something to that shoulder early in the year. And they just said, well, you know what? We're going to play it out. We're going to try to get you healthy until they lost Story. Now they've lost Casas. And I think I wonder if part of Cora looks at it and says, you know what? We're not going to rush you back and jeopardize some sort of health injury with you when we're already this shorthanded and we're not going to lose you too. So we're not going to put any other guys in harm's way. In any case, the point is, because of the injuries to Casas and Story, I think everybody's got to kind of reset a little bit. And I'll tell you why I think the performance of the starting pitching is an important thing. First of all, it can keep them in the race. But I think there's a second part of it that we should factor in, which I'll touch on when we come back. Again, 617-779-0985 on the Baseball Hour. Carrabis is here tonight instead of tomorrow night. We'll get to your calls, and we'll get to the player that he has serious questions about or wonders if the Red Sox have serious questions about when we come back. Masataka Yoshida's home run over the weekend against the Pirates. Now, why would that be relevant tonight with the Red Sox in Cleveland and play Cleveland Indians? Or Guardians, sorry. It's still a freaking just drilled into my head. Again, I'll call the Chargers San Diego Chargers forever in the NFL. It's going to be the same kind of thing.
Yeah.
But as it relates to Yoshida, and I see Kevin on the line in a car, so we'll get to you in a second here, Kevin. Again, for anyone else, we'd have a couple lines open, 617-779-0985. But what's your point on Yoshida?
I'm just starting to wonder what the plan is here. His last game was on the 20th, and he had 3 hits, a home run. He's not in the lineup tonight. And for a team that is looking for offense, for a team that is scrambling for bodies to get into the lineup, like that lineup on Sunday, I don't know if you saw the lineup on Sunday, Tony, it was... To say it was a AAA lineup would be insulting to AAA, I think. And for him to not be able to make the cut for that lineup, and then tonight you're against another righty, no Yoshida. Like, I get it from when you're looking at the roster and you're saying, hey, we put Refsteiner in right. He looked great defensively in that series, and he hit and righties, he hit against lefties. Duran, I know that we've been critical about his defense in the past, but his reads have been better, his jumps have been better, and they've been great in left field, but specifically in center field is where we had an issue with it. They've looked much better this year. And Abreu, I've been calling him like the Latin Trot Nixon. Like he is diving for everything, like balls that JD Drew would be camped under. He is diving for it. Sometimes he makes the catch, sometimes he doesn't, but he plays hard, he has passion, and he can hit, which is great. But Yoshida, there's no place for him defensively. And today they activate Tyler O'Neill off the IL. I believe it was only 7 days because of the concussion. So he's at DH today. Rafael Devers, we were told originally that he was coming back today as well with O'Neill. He's not in the lineup tonight. He's not in this game. Cora said he wants to give him another day. And he cited the conditions as maybe a reason why he wouldn't be in the lineup. He's basically halfway already through an IL stint in terms of when he would have been able to return regardless. So you look at the roster and the options that they have, and where does Yoshida fit? If you don't like him defensively, then he's a DH. Okay, well, Devers is kind of evolving more into just a DH role. And when you have all these outfielders now that can hit, Yoshida hasn't hit outside of that game on the 20th where he kind of went off a little bit. But I just don't see where he fits. And it's not to say that his contract is immovable, but you're going to have to get creative to move it. We're not talking about a Mookie Betts David Price contract move situation, but they've got to do something because he's clogging the roster, and they're telling you without telling you, we don't believe in this player.
So I was just going to say, what you think basically is that it's more residue from the high and blue mirror, another bad player from the high and blue mirror. Overpaid, can't do anything but DH, and that his days are numbered here one way or the other.
It feels that way for sure. And the other thing, too, he's 30. It's not like, when the Dodgers go out and they sign Yamamoto, and I don't even want to say he's scuffling because that's disingenuous. He had that bad outing his first time out in Korea, and he's been a lot better since then. Maybe not the caliber of pitcher that they thought that they were getting, but he's 25. Yoshida's 30. It's kind of like put up or shut up immediately. Like, you've got to hit the ground running when you're in your 30s and you're making $90 million. So to say, do I think that he was given ample amount of time to get in a groove so far this year? No, I don't. Offensively, no. Because, what was it last year? He took until probably mid-May before he started going. But he fizzled out real quick. Like, his second half was disgusting. So I don't know how you feel about it, Tony. It's definitely something that's glaring to me on the roster. It's you're trying to make all the pieces fit, and then when you get to Yoshida, you're like, I don't know where you fit really.
Yeah, I'm not sure they do either. But I have an interesting. I shouldn't say interesting. It's not like all my ideas are interesting. But I have a theory as to why they're approaching their lineup the way they are. Yoshida's part of that, which we'll get to in a minute. Let's take a couple of calls. Kevin in a car. What do you got?
Yeah, hey guys. This might be a little bit naive, but I guess my question is just regarding the farm system, because I'm looking at it like they've got a couple injuries. I know it's unfortunate, but they can't seem to fill positions with bodies that are adequate. And I'm looking at the Orioles, who are just out of nowhere. I mean, they got Jordan Westberg who's coming in ripping the leather off the ball. They've got Jackson Holliday, Aldis Rushman. Who's the other guy? Anyway, they got 4. Gunnar Henderson, Colton Cowser, who's coming in ripping it up. Where's our farm system? If we're not going to spend money in the off season, you have to have some anticipation that you're going to have a good farm system. And I know there's a couple players there. When are they going to be ready? It's starting to get concerned.
No, Kevin, I'm going to let you go. It's a good question. Again, because you've been hearing about it for 5 years. This was the real downside of the whole Bloom era, is that the rebuild's not starting now. The rebuild started 5 years ago or 4 years ago, and you're really no closer to being where you should be. You're a little closer. Now, the positional players, Baltimore's ahead of you in terms of the rebuild. Obviously, they want to, so you can't really compare it entirely to the Orioles. If you become what the Orioles are now, that would be a success, Jared, wouldn't it?
You would be, and you're also in a better position too, because despite what everyone is saying about John Henry, I do believe that when they're ready, he'll spend again. I don't think that you didn't become the Baltimore Orioles overnight, where I know that they're in a transition period right now with their ownership, but they didn't spend big. Even coming off the 100-win season, you would think they went out and traded for Corbin Burns, which was great, but they didn't pay him. So that's a one-year thing, and they didn't add any free agents. Here in Boston, I do think that once we start to see the Teals and the Myers and the Anthonys get up here, I do think that it will reignite John Henry's willingness to supplement. But I think where he has, I don't want to say learned his lesson, maybe in his mind it's learning his lesson. I'm not just going to throw money at the problem. We hired Heim, rebuild the farm system. It's kind of, when they hired Dave Dombrowski, it's like, we hired you to spend the money aggressively to build a championship roster. He did that, and then they looked at it as, who's the next guy that can lead us to a championship? All right, this guy, Heim Bloom, he can rebuild the farm system. They hired him. You've got 3 prospects that everyone's really excited about, and then they looked at it as, all right, well, now that you've done that, can you take us to the next step? No. All right, well, Craig Breslow, you come on in here. So I think to the caller's point about when...
I was just going to ask you that. When are we going to see these guys?
I think we'll see Teal this year, and I'm starting to kind of walk back my take that we won't see Meyer this year. I'm not going to guarantee it, but he got off to a really good start so far this year, but it's all in Double-A with these guys. These guys are all in Double-A. We've seen the organization bypass or leapfrog Triple-A with some guys. Benintendi was one of them, most notably, but I don't think that they're going to panic promote any of them. Because the fact that they didn't really super invest in this roster doesn't, all that says to me is they're not going to panic promote any of these guys. None of them are going to be looked at as the savior. When they get up here, it's because they're ready to come up here so that they can be part of that next core. It's not going to be like, oh, Trevor Story's out for the year, better get our hot start shortstop up here, prospect. That's not how they're going to look at it.
No, and I like that phrase, panic promote. Honestly, it'd be a mistake. It'd be a mistake. So now you're going to ruin the future too? Are you going to run the risk of, messing with that and putting these kids in a position where they feel like they get to come up and be saviors? No way. No, it's the wrong thing to do. However, I'm sort of in agreement with you. If you're at Double-A and you excel there, okay, now again, we can define excel however you want, but let's just stick with the word excel. They play really well at Double-A. Well, then by the middle of the year, you're looking at Triple-A.
Sure.
Okay, and if that happens, now you're a heartbeat away. So I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility, what you just said, that we'll see Kyle Teal or Anthony or Meyer by the end of the season. Now, it doesn't mean we will. I think it's possible. Now, again, does that mean they're going to have an impact on the year? No. If they do it, it'd be to get them up here, get them a little experience, and then see where you are. But it does bring next spring into play. Okay, and then to show up at camp, and what are they going to do with these guys? Likely that they'll start the year at Triple-A. They'll get that clock running so that they don't have to. They can get them for 7 years instead of 6 with free agency, and bring them up in the early part of next year. But whatever it is, this is why I asked you whether the starting pitching would be a win, because the Red Sox aren't going to go out on the market and spend on starting pitching. If they didn't do it this offseason, they're not doing it.
So far, they've looked justified in that.
Okay, and so which is my point, though. That's the harder part of the equation because they don't have young pitching in the system, Jared. So if Houck, Bayo, Crawford all can continue to pitch like they're pitching now, and Whitlock, at that point, really, Whitlock, you can do whatever you want with. If they can get up those three guys, if they can nail them all, they can be contenders next year. You can go out and sign some positional players or make a trade or do something to get some bats in here. You have options there if your pitching comes along. And now we are talking seriously about spending again. I hope. If the Red Sox can get pitching this year and establish it with again, Houck, Crawford, and Bayo, and they don't spend, well, then they're never going to spend. I mean, to me, they should have spent already. I'm with you. But my hope is that the pitching comes together, and then they'll be justified in spending. Kevin Majori's get your...
taking care of the rest on the mound. Been some base runners, but no harm done. Swung on and missed, strike 3. Sano down Hackett. Second strikeout for Tanner today. Cut on and missed. He puts away another one. Back-to-back strikeouts for Tanner. And a 2-2 home. Swung on and missed, struck him out, and he fans the side here in the 4th inning. A breezy frame for Tanner Houck.
Tanner Houck on the mound again tonight in Cleveland. Red Sox are playing the Guardians. Now in the 3rd inning, still scoreless. I can't give you too much game detail. That'd be a violation. But nonetheless, no score yet. But part of the reason we play that for you is because I was saying to Jared that and again, let me make this part clear. I'm the last person who will apologize for the Red Sox not putting a legitimate product on the field. So you're not going to get that from me. And if you listen to the show over the years, you know that. However, if you want to continue to just bash ownership, I'm all for it. Believe me, fire away. You have every right to be pissed. The team, you should have had more interest in this season than you have. I don't blame you. In the same breath, I'll tell you that once they start playing, you sort of have to set goals for it along the way that are realistic. So right now, Devers is out. Story's done for the year. Casas is going to be out for a while. They have no heart of the order, although Tyler O'Neill did return to the lineup.
I love how we don't even mention Giolito anymore.
Okay, so what is going to constitute a good season? And thus far, 13-10, not bad, pretty good. And I know they've played garbage, but guess what? You know how everyone else looks at them? As garbage. So garbage is beating garbage. I'd rather win as garbage than lose as garbage, is sort of what it comes down to.
It's just hard to get excited about it when...
I agree.
Yeah.
I'm not telling you should get excited about it. But I'm telling you, because you couldn't be more right, Jared. But if you're setting a goal, if they come out of this season with the knowledge that Tanner Houck has now finally turned a corner and that Bayo can pitch and stay focused and win you 15 games. And I always, again, I'm stuck in the old way of thinking because at the end of the day, to me, it's about winning. So I need to know that a guy is a quote-unquote 15-game winner or akin to one. That's how I classify them. Mm-hmm. Okay, I do the same thing with the lineup. This guy's a 3-hitter, that guy's a 6-hitter, this guy's a 2-hitter. You get the idea. If those guys turn into pitchers, well, then next year takes on a whole different perspective. Next year's not about rebuilding anymore. Next year's about putting a team on the field that can win and integrate some young guys into it. And now here you go. Now you're talking. And I'm not telling you they're championship caliber next year, although if the pitching is good this year, then they're aggressive in the offseason, then we might be able to have that conversation. But the pitching to me is just such a big variable because they had none of it coming into the year. None. So, this would be sort of a huge development if somehow these guys can all pitch well during the course of the year. That's just, to me, that's a story worth watching.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you have to get excited about it.
No.
Doesn't mean you have to dig in and watch every game. But if their pitchers pitch well, they can go over 500 this year.
But, I don't even care. I don't even care if they go over 500, Tony, because we were already not excited about the intended roster, and we're in mid to late April now, and the team looks nothing like it was intended to look at the beginning of this year. So now you're already worse than what you already weren't excited about. So if they finish the season at 84 wins, who cares?
How do you do your podcast every week?
We talk about submarines. We don't even we'll break down the games, but we will completely pivot to other topics just to entertain ourselves, just to maintain our sanity. Because I trust me, I would love more than anything to be excited about this team. But even at 13-10, you're thinking to yourself, all right, they have this winning record. What do they look like against good teams? Horrendous. And then every single day you get bad news. Someone's going down with an injury. This guy's out for the season. This guy has an injury. We don't know what the timeline is on it. It's you can't even enjoy one day. They'll sweep the Pirates and it's cool. Tristan Casas is out for the next 3 months probably. So we do our best to try and entertain ourselves, because if we don't, every day is depression with this baseball team.
Okay, well, I actually try to stick to the baseball, Jared. I can't do submarines between 6 and 7.
That's fine.
So, but let me throw a baseball thing at you then, okay? Jordan Montgomery made his debut over the weekend. Red Sox were linked to him during the offseason. Made his debut with the Arizona Diamondbacks. Interestingly enough, against Blake Snell, who was also on the market and available late in the year. John Heyman of the New York Post had this item on Jordan Montgomery within the last few days, I guess it was, right? Let me see if I can find the actual date on this. No, it was a while ago.
Yeah.
Several weeks ago. Jordan Montgomery and the Red Sox had their famous Zoom call, and while the Red Sox aren't known to have made a concrete offer, it turns out Montgomery preferred not to go there anyway. Now, there was a lot of speculation, that Montgomery wanted to come to the Red Sox. His wife was training here during the offseason to become a dermatologist, I believe. She was at Beth Israel in affiliation with Harvard. As it turns out, she is transferred to Vanderbilt. And Montgomery, quote, this according to Heyman now, and I say quote, meaning I'm quoting the story, writes John Heyman that Montgomery didn't love the Red Sox because he wants to win. Okay? So two things. First of all, I hold this against the Red Sox, because to me, if you fail in a free agent pursuit, part of the reason is because you're not attractive enough, especially if you have the money. So I don't know whether they offered the money or not.
Doubtful.
Okay, but if they did and he said no, that's still their fault. Because to me, my point is the team's to blame for that. You got to make yourself an appealing situation. But when you see that story, well, what is your reaction when you hear that Jordan Montgomery didn't want to come here because he wants to win?
I mean, a few years ago, that would have pissed me off. But now, I'm like, well, he's right. I think when you're in the prime, he just won a World Series too with the Rangers, so it's not like he's ring chasing or anything like that. So to an extent, I kind of look at it as, well, I see what you're saying. You only have X amount of years in your big league career. You want to win. You don't want to waste them in a place where you feel like you can't win. But I think I probably would have assessed the Red Sox situation and been like, well, I could be a guy that puts them over the top. Like, without me, are they a contender? No, probably not. But I would look at the roster and say, especially if I believed in myself, which a guy like Montgomery, is he an ace? No, but he's a very solid number 2. I would have said, well, maybe I can go there and put them over the top. Maybe we can win 87, 88 games with me there. Maybe the Red Sox didn't do a good enough job of explaining that. Like, hey, with you in the rotation, this slots down this guy, and we like our rotation here, and this puts this really good arm that would be in the rotation. Now he's in the bullpen. We have this super bullpen, and we're going to score a run. I don't know. I don't know what the Red Sox presentation was. I feel like definitely in years past, it would have really upset me if a player was like, I'm not going to Boston, I want to win. I would have been like, what are you talking about, dude? Like, the Red Sox win all the time. But it's kind of hard to come at them like that because, like I said, they've been a 500 team for half a decade now.
Do you think that's the reason he's not here?
I'm sure the offer was not good either. I don't have any reason to believe that the Red Sox offer was competitive with any of the other offers that were out there. I don't think it exceeded the other offers. I don't think that it matched the top offers. Until I see it, I have no reason to believe that they made him want to put aside the fact, like, I want to win. It's like, all right, well, how about for this much? It's like, well, no, like, because they didn't approach it. And I was in touch with some agents for other players this past offseason, and they were telling me kind of like what the Red Sox were putting out there comparative to what other teams were offering for the same player.
Low.
Weren't even in the same ballpark.
Okay.
Like, if I'm the player, I'm like, are you guys serious? Like, why did you even call me with that?
So you want my conspiracy theory on Jordan Montgomery?
Go ahead.
The offer from the Red Sox was low. And these comments, again, it appeared in a column by John Heyman of the New York Post, who is close to which agent?
He's a Scott Boras puppet, Tony.
Okay. Close to Scott Boras, has been for a long, long time. Who is Jordan Montgomery's agent?
That'd be Scott Boras, Tony.
Who's Blake Snell's agent?
Scott Boras, Tony.
Okay. So my guess is Scott Boras told John Heyman that Jordan Montgomery wants to pitch for someone who's winning, and it was his way of taking a shot at the Red Sox for not getting in on the pitcher in the first place.
Sure.
Because what did Jordan Montgomery do to Scott Boras shortly after he signed?
Fired him.
Yep. Jordan Montgomery was not happy with the way his market developed. So he clearly held Scott Boras accountable for it, as well he should have, by the way. Because Boras' whole approach with these guys was, no, wait, and I'm including Snell. Wait, keep waiting. Eventually, they're going to come around and give you your money. Except that this time, they didn't.
He's the only guy to fire Boras, by the way, out of all the guys that waited until almost March to sign. Like you're talking Snell, Chapman, JD Martinez, Montgomery. There was one other one that I can't remember now. Bellinger. Jordan Montgomery's the only one to fire him. I was very surprised by that.
Yeah, so again, Montgomery was pissed. He was clearly pissed because he fired his agent. In fact, if you ask me, now again, I'm not, please don't interpret this as any sort of, freeing of the Red Sox and taking them or not holding them accountable. If Jordan Montgomery didn't want to sign here for any reason, that's on the Red Sox. Okay, if the team's not good enough or they don't want to cough up the dough, that's on them. But what do I think happened? I think Jordan Montgomery's wife was here. I think he wanted to sign with the Red Sox. I think he told Boras, get a deal done with Boston. It would make sense. Just make sure it's fair market value. And Boras said, here's what I think you should get, and we'll get it from Boston. Except the Red Sox didn't play ball. And then Jordan Montgomery missed out on the market entirely, got pissed and fired Boras and said you couldn't even do it right. So he's gone. I like to blame everybody. That's sort of my conclusion on these things. Blame everyone. Blame Montgomery. Blame the agent. Blame the Red Sox. When something doesn't work, there's plenty of blame to go around.
Sure.
617-779-0985. We'll wrap it up with your calls. I am with Jared Carrabis.
The power, the work in the count, right? The on-base percentage. He's a force. We saw it last year in the second part of the season. He was really good. Then he got hurt, it's very important, but we got to keep going, man. We're not going to stop.
Where he had something like that once and basically missed the rest of the season. Now, I don't know if it'll be quite that bad, but I think he's going to be out a series of weeks, if not months. So they're without Casas. Meanwhile, Yoshida's on the bench against a right-handed pitcher. Duran's in center and Raphael is at shortstop. So let me ask you this question quickly, Jared, before we let you go. Why is Raphael now playing shortstop when earlier in the year they seemed intent on keeping him in center field? Why is that happening?
I think it's for two reasons. Mm-hmm. I think Jarren Duran has taken a large step forward defensively in center, so they can trust him to maintain center field defense while Raphael moves to short. But I think they also kind of look at the situation of where are some of these, like most of the balls going? They're on the ground. They're up the middle. Like where are we noticeably sucking? It is defense at short. It is double plays. Like a lot of these pitchers, like they're like Brian Bale, for example. We keep talking about his ceiling. Is he a number 2? Is he an ace? Well, he gets a lot of balls on the ground. Like, he's not a strikeout pitcher. So let's play to our pitcher's strengths. If we get balls on the ground, we need defense up the middle. And we saw last year the Kike Hernandez at shortstop was an abomination. That you lost games because your defense up the middle was so bad. So I think that they're prioritizing the shortstop position finally defensively, and they're putting their trust in a guy like Jarren Duran to be able to fill in defensively in Raphael's absence.
So can I give you the Felger and Maz version, or in this case the Maz version that's more dramatic?
Proceed.
Alex Cora won. And when I say Alex Cora won, Craig Breslow wanted to keep Raphael in center field, player development, because that's what the Red Sox are now. They treat the big leagues like 4A. So they wanted to keep him in center field. And Cora went and said, listen, we can't field a freaking ground ball in the infield. David Hamilton can't play the position. So until we get eliminated, we are going to play the season. I would like to play Raphael at shortstop, and if we're going to be weaker at one position, let's be weaker in center field, where Duran might not be as good, but we're a better team if Duran's in center and Raphael is at short. And this is why I tie it into Yoshida, because I think Cora feels the same way about Ref Snyder over Yoshida. Ref Snyder is a more complete player.
Of course.
Can play the outfield, can give you two things, while Yoshida really can only give you some at-bats. So Cora said, screw it. Ref Snyder's been loyal to me. He's been a good player. We've used him as a platoon guy. It would be an insult to him and a bad team to platoon him at this stage. I'm going to give him the chance to hit against righties because he's a pro. So I'm going to we're going to go with the team that it gives us the best chance of winning big league games until further notice. If and when we suck and we sell at the trade deadline, we can go in another direction. But until that point, we're going this way. And I think Cora won out. That's what I think.
I think that that's a very astute observation.
Thank you, Jared. And why do you think it's astute?
Because I know Cora to be someone who would fight for something like that. Like, it's like, hey, you're paying me to win baseball games. You're not paying me to develop guys up here. That was your job down in the minor leagues. Like your job, my job is to win baseball games, and this is how I think we should do it. You're paying me to use my brain to win baseball games, so let me do that.
Yeah, that's what I think's going on. Anyway. Jared, thank you for joining us a day early.
Yeah, Tony, thank you.
Fitting us into your extremely busy schedule.
Mm-hmm.
As I said earlier, Chris Gasper never would have come in this week if he was you. But that's why you're you and he's not.
That's right.
Do you know Gasper at all?
I sure do.
He's a good guy.
Great guy.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
He just likes to take his days off. Kevin and Jory's got your headlines here. We'll catch you tomorrow on the Baseball Hour.